welcome to Hashimoto's Unfiltered, real talk, real solutions. The podcast where we cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of living with Hashimoto's. My name is Dr. Ray Benedetto, your host, and I'm here to share my expertise, personal insights, and from time to time, conversations with incredible guests to help you take control of your health. Together, we'll explore actionable items, debunk myths, and navigate the complexities of your thyroid health. So whether you're newly diagnosed or a seasoned warrior, this is your space for unfiltered truth and real hope. Let's dive in. Let's go. Hashimoto's, parasites, and biofilms. Let's kind of start big picture, and then let's dig in on all of this. Now, in the functional medicine world, what we do is we often, always really, with my patients, we're talking about what to eat, but we don't always talk about who is getting those nutrients. Are you getting those nutrients, or is someone else getting those nutrients? Pathogens, especially things like parasites, bacteria, have evolved. They've been around forever. They've been around longer than us, and they'll probably be around longer than us when humans are extinct from this planet. That should be a long time from now, but they've evolved and survived millions, probably billions of years at this point, with a very kind of nifty survival mechanism, which is something called a biofilm. So number one, these pathogens like parasites and bacteria stuff are, number one, way more common. I find them in all my patients. Super more common than you think or than you would even know. We're going to touch on that today. But the reason why they're so tough too is that they've developed this survival mechanism called biofilms. And what it is kind of like I'll give you a good analogy. It's kind of like a slimy, protective, like fortress, like a little force field, if you will, that hides them, allows them to hide in your body from the immune system and from, some herbal antimicrobials and even medications. So we have to address both. We have to address the fortress, we have to address the force field that's hiding them, and we have to address the enemy that's inside. Right? We have to do both. A couple of quick questions, because I see this a lot with, I don't see it as much with my patients because we deal with these things, but like from people who come to me who have seen other doctors, they've seen other functional medicine practitioners and the like. And it's a question I ask a lot, and it's this: have you ever felt like you're winning the war? You're winning the gut war. Like, wow, we're getting to work on my gut. We're fixing my gut. My gut's doing awesome. Like, this is great. Only to have a setback or a backslide or 3 or 4 weeks later, or even longer, 8 weeks, 12 weeks later, everything comes back. It's like, I thought we were winning this gut war. Now I'm back to square one. That's the hallmark of biofilms because they haven't been dealt with. Now, does anyone who's listening to this right now have mystery symptoms? Probably most of you do, but some of these you may not even consider, right? Things like teeth grinding at night, things like itchy skin, especially in certain areas like itchy bottom, right? Itchy bum, as some of my my counterparts in the UK and South Africa. I have like friends, practitioners in South Africa. Bum, they call it the bum, like itchy butt. Or like a sudden spike in blood sugar cravings at nighttime, or even around like the moon cycles, like full moons. Yes, the full moon matters for parasite activity. Many of you listening to this right now have probably experienced these things. And those are very kind of untapped symptoms of parasites. So we're going to dig into some of those today. So let's get to work. Number one, I call this, you guys know when I do these, I kind of have like my talking points. So number one, because I think, this will help people to understand, like dispel some of these myths, especially myths you've been told by the medical world that just aren't true. So number one is what I call the third world fallacy. Most people associate parasites, and again, you've been indoctrinated by this from, the mainstream medical world. Most people associate with parasites with things like international travel or contaminated water in developing nations, third world nations, things like that. However, I practice and reside and see patients in North America, in the United States, and I find stuff on everybody. People who have not traveled internationally or have not been in third world countries, they've never left their town sometimes. So there are very common pathogens here in North America, parasites like blastocystitis, Giardia, frequently found in local well water, undercooked foods, even passed on from pets. So we need to stop thinking of parasites as vacation gone wrong. They are opportunistic residents. They take advantage of things like low stomach acid, slow motility. These are things that are super common to Hashimoto's. Low stomach acid and very slow digestion. So you don't need a passport to be, harboring pathogens like parasites. And the problem is these things are keeping your immune system on high alert. So they're perpetuating the problem. So we need to remove the stigma that even if I haven't traveled, I can't have parasites as an environmental factor in my Hashimoto's as an underlying cause. Now, we talked about biofilms. That's number 2. Biofilms. Let's call them the invisibility cloak. Remember when you were a kid growing up, like sci-fi, Dungeons and Dragons, all this kind of stuff. You had this invisibility cloak. You can wear this cloak and it would make you invisible. So biofilms are, I'm going to use big fancy words and then kind of like break it down for you. Biofilms are what are known as an extracellular matrix. So it's outside of the cell. Essentially, we'll call it slime. It's like a coating of slime. It's made up of usually minerals like calcium, iron, magnesium. Pathogens, bacteria, viruses are huge for this, and parasites can hide inside of these biofilms, hide inside of these structures, making them up to 1,000 times more resistant to antibiotics and antimicrobials. So this is what I hear all the time. And these are questions, again, that I ask my patients. Have you ever wondered why you feel great during a cleanse? You do this cleanse, I'm doing this detox, and I feel great, but all of my symptoms return when I stop. It's because you're kind of just like pruning the weeds that stick out of the hedges, but the roots of the weed are protected inside this mineral fortress called a biofilm. So you're kind of like trimming the outside. Okay, it makes it look good for, a day or two, but the roots haven't been addressed, so the weed grows back. So to truly clear the gut and the body, we have to use biofilm busters, we call them, right? To open the door first, right? We have to expose these guys. So this a lot of times explains this revolving door of gut issues, right? That people get. There is a proper order of operations that need to take place. We need to break down the biofilms, and this is specific to parasites, but this is in general when we're treating people, or when I'm treating patients with Hashimoto's. But let's keep this specific to pathogens. We need to the proper order of operations. We need to break down the biofilms. Then we need to clear the pathogens, and then we need to heal the damage they've caused. And this is not something you can do with like a 30-day cleanse, guys. It's just not. That's why. But again, this is why you're like, we do those things. People do those things. You've had practitioners do those things with you, and they don't last because it can't be done in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or even 6 weeks. It takes months sometimes, depending on how bad someone's infestation is, if you will. Number 3, what I call stealth infections, and a concept we've talked about a lot of times on these lives, which is molecular mimicry. Many, many times you guys have heard me talk about molecular mimicry. It's how something can mimic, and again, we're talking about pathogens here, can mimic something else, and your immune system gets confused and it attacks the wrong guy. We've talked in the past about like gluten, how the molecular mimicry is involved in gluten as a trigger because it very closely resembles thyroid tissue, the molecular structure. So your immune system thinks it's going after the gluten, but it's killing your thyroid. It's getting caught up in the whitewash. So parasites can cause this chronic inflammation in the gut. I mean, look, that's where they live a lot of times, is in the gut, because it's dark, it's nice and warm and moist, and there's plenty of nutrients coming at them all the time. So why would they leave? They're safe, they're protected, and they have a fresh supply of food. Why would you leave? So, but they're in the gut. So they cause this chronic inflammation in the gut lining, which then leads to leaky gut. Again, certain pathogens, just like gluten, have proteins that they're made of proteins that look like thyroid tissue. That's the molecular mimicry part. So this keeps the immune system in a state of perpetual war. It's like on the battle, on the front lines all the time. And it gets to the point where it can't tell the difference between a parasite in the gut, which it's trying to fight off and kill, or the thyroid tissue in your gland. So a parasite doesn't just, and I don't want to say just, like this is super important. Parasites don't just steal your nutrients, like big ones like B12 and iron, huge ones. Parasites don't just steal nutrients. They act as a constant fire alarm for your immune system. So as long as that alarm is ringing in your gut, your body will stay in a heightened autoimmune state. So clearing, again, breaking them down, clearing them out, and healing the residue, these uninvited guests, these pathogens, many times is the key. That secret. It's the key that unlocks that door to finally see that lasting relief, get antibodies to drop, and all that kind of stuff. So again, it's not just, we talk about these gut issues, especially with pathogens. It's not just a digestion issue. It's not just a gut issue. It's an immune system issue. We have to look at it that way. Last point, and then we'll get to some questions. This is, again, has a lot to do with the gut. I call it the Hashimoto's motility trap. Hypothyroidism in general, low thyroid, underactive thyroid, contributes to something called gastroparesis, right? Which is a slowing of digestion. It slows down your digestive system. Many of you who are listening to this right now know what that's like. That's constipation. That is, I don't poop once or twice a day, at least once a day. More or better, obviously, but at least once a day. And a lot of people listening to this right now, they're shaking their head going, oh my gosh, man, that would be heaven if I could poop once a day. I'm pooping like once every 3 days. Hypothyroidism in general, no matter the cause, again, it's mostly Hashimoto's usually, causes this slowing of digestion. What it also causes is, now again, this is part of the natural aging process, but at the same time, the Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism will accelerate this, is low stomach acid. Low stomach acid, slow digestion. This is like the double whammy. Let's talk about the low stomach acid first. Low stomach acid, proper stomach acidity is a non-starter. It is a deal breaker, and it's something that I deal with all of my patients. It must be dealt with, and pathogens are the reason why. Because acidity in your stomach, proper acidity, and again, half the people probably listening to my voice right now are taking acid-reducing medications. It's making the problem worse. Stomach acidity. We need proper stomach acidity. Why? Well, there's multiple reasons, but what's one of the main reasons? If these pathogens, if you ingest these pathogens, if you ingest a parasite and it hits your stomach acid, which needs to be at a pH of approximately 2, okay? 0 is like battery acid and 14 is baking soda, right? So on our scale, our pH scale, 7's right in the middle, that's neutral. We need to be at about a 2. So your stomach needs to be extremely acidic, again, for multiple reasons. One of them being, if one of these parasites you ingest or one of these bacteria you ingest, they should hit that acid, that stomach acid, and they should die. They should be wiped out on contact. It is a protective mechanism that kills pathogens that we may ingest. So you need super duper strong acid. If we do not have that, which most of us don't, what can happen? They don't die. They're allowed to sneak through and they get into our intestines. And then that's where they set up shop. Okay. That's number one. Number two is hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, slows digestion. So what happens? Food is not moving through your digestive tract fast enough. So it's sitting there. It's moving way too slow. It's sitting there. It's rotting away pretty much for the most part. And it becomes a breeding ground. It's a breeding ground for overgrowth, parasites, bacteria, opportunistic stuff. It becomes fertile ground. Now, it's kind of a chicken or an egg scenario. The slow thyroid function, underactive thyroid, Hashimoto's, leads to the slower digestion, which then allows parasites to move in. And then these parasites, what do? They trigger more inflammation. They trigger leaky gut, right? They're triggering immune responses, which then further does what? Flares up your Hashimoto, further slows down your thyroid function. So it makes the problem worse. So it's this vicious cycle. So we have to break that cycle from both ends. Right? We have to break that cycle while supporting your thyroid and clearing the gut, both ends. So we have the proper stomach acidity, and then we got to get that gut moving. Drainage. I use a framework with my patients. It's DMI. So the D is drainage. Like the first thing we have to do is get people eliminating. We have to be able to get the junk, toxins, parasites, whatever. We have to be able to get the junk out of our body. Drainage, it's DMI, drainage, mitochondrial support, and inflammation immune support. So we have to take care of those three things typically in the first 6 months of care. You have to. It's the only way to get it done. Have to get someone draining properly. Have to support their mitochondria, which has a lot to do with micronutrients, has to do with like nutrients, some of which the parasites are stealing. And then we have to deal with that inflammation immune loop. So we have to deal with those three things first before we can do anything cool, like mold or whatever. So we need a comprehensive approach while treating the infection, whatever that may be, the parasite, the bugger, while simultaneously supporting the immune system in the gut and like handling all these things at the same time. So I hope that makes sense. So to summarize, then we'll get to some Q&A. A couple of points for today. This is not just a third world problem. I do comprehensive gut testing on my patients. I find stuff on everybody. Okay, this is not just a travel thing. I went and drank the water in some resort country in the Caribbean. Biofilms must be dealt with in combination. You cannot kill off parasites and pathogens without breaking down the biofilms. That is step one. Then we clear them out. Then we heal afterwards. Molecular mimicry. We see the same thing that we see with things like foods. Forget the fact that these parasites are stealing your nutrients, which they are, which is going to affect how your body's functioning. It's going to affect your immune function. Our immune system gets confused trying to kill off the pathogens, the parasites. The thyroid gets caught up in the friendly fire. And then the gut. We have to get proper stomach acidity. We have to get proper movement of the gut, or else these pathogens, these parasites can enter our bodies and not get killed off. They can come in and set up shop. And it's a breeding ground for overgrowth. Like they can multiply. They can continue to grow and expand their territory, if you will. So good. I hope this was helpful for everyone today. That we're just talking parasites here and biofilms. But that's why, those are some of the big reasons why they must be dealt with. Like there's no way around it. Like we can't do cool stuff with patients like mold or what, that kind of stuff. We can't get to those deeper layers until we clear out the surface layers. Like we're like digging a hole all the way to the bottom when I'm working up a case with someone, and we have to clear off like the surface layers before we can get down deep to like real deep hidden stuff, right? Like DNA and all this kind of stuff and mold. We have to get that DMI protocol. We have to get someone's drainage working and their digestion fixed. Parasites and pathogens play a role there, of course, a huge role. They have to be taken care of. We got to get someone's mitochondria and their micronutrients squared away so they have the proper nutrients. And then we got to deal with their immune and their inflammation and immune health. That takes 6 months, gang. I do that with someone in 6 months, Sometimes that's all we have to do. They're like, hey, I'm awesome. Other times it's like, well, we got to go deeper. But this is a very essential first step. Here, hopefully today now you understand why it's so important and why I'm banging this drum on why it has to be done. And again, many of you out there have seen other like functional medicine health practitioners, and they don't do it. They're not doing it properly, which is why you're not getting better, and or why you might get better in the short term, but not in the long term. And unfortunately, I've had that conversation with way too many people who have spent way too much money doing tests and seeing functional medicine doctors and not having the order of operations, not having the proper order of operations to get them healed short term and long term, to get their Hashimoto's into remission. I want to thank you for tuning in to Hashimoto's Unfiltered, Real Talk, Real Solutions. Again, my name is Dr. Ray Benedetto, and I hope today's episode helped to give you the tools and the insights you need to take another step forward on your Hashimoto's journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode if you think someone could benefit. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Dr. Ray Benedetto and on my website, drraybenedetto.com, for more resources and updates. Until next time, remember, you're not alone and real solutions are always within reach. Take care and be well.